This is all informed by, I think, sort of my experience with this. And this has to do with my family, my wife. We won't even get into IVF, which is what we had to do to have children. So it's incredible to me to live in this world now where the children that we desperately wanted would not be able to be had, because if these people get their way, there'd be no IVF. My wife, after our second child, this is after she was born, hemorrhaged. This was probably 3 days post birth, right? We were home. She was in danger. She needed blood transfusions. We were incredibly fortunate to have good health care. We were able to get her in. She was operated on under an emergency basis on that night, right? But my point is this: pregnancy can always be a risk to a woman's health. This idea that it has to be based on a fetal abnormality or something going wrong, you don't know. So who then is liable? Let's say in the case of our thing, let's say she didn't want to carry that baby to term. She was forced to by the state and post-birth hemorrhaged and died. Well, who's responsible for that? If you can arrest people for abetting somebody driving into Illinois, who is responsible for the death of women who are going to have emergency complications arise? And how come that's not part of the conversation? And what do you think we can do about that? Jessica, I'll ask you first and then Melissa.
Sure. This is part of what the case in Texas, where 20 women sued Texas for the extreme health issues that they had because of the abortion ban. And essentially what happened is they blamed the doctors, right? They said the law is not the issue. Any, reasonable doctor would have given care at that point. And this is something that they've sort of set themselves up to do for a long time, to blame the doctors, to say, you just don't understand the law. The law is fine as it is. You should have given the care. And so once again, the liability goes to the doctors, given the right judge and the right court.
If a woman dies in childbirth for a baby that she did not want to have, it is only the doctor that is liable, not the state, for forcing her into that pregnancy. Melissa, is that correct?
That's basically what they're saying. The Texas Supreme Court, SCOTEX, if you will, issued a decision at the end of May on the Zorowski case and basically said, yeah, these seem good to us and doctors know what they're to do and they should do it and they should provide this care. Like, there's not a problem here. And this is a court that's entirely Republican. And this was a unanimous decision from the court. And again, completely stripped of any humanity for either the pregnant patient or the doctor who genuinely is worried about whether or not they're going to lose their livelihood if they make a decision, and their patients who are not just at risk of death, but I mean, there's a lot between a valid and viable pregnancy and death. I mean, you can lose your fertility if you go septic. Like, lots of things can happen. It's not
but
just
even beyond that, it can create hypertension. It can.
Everything.
Pregnancy is
Yes,
not a benign process.
But John, this goes to your point about democracy. We have right now highly gerrymandered state legislatures who are making these laws. These legislatures are not comprised of physicians. They're not even comprised of women of reproductive age. It's a lot of men, many men who are not in the same age bandwidth as most women who are in their prime reproductive years. And the idea that your views are being reflected, your interests are being accounted for in the legislative process, that's just a fallacy. I mean, these are geriatric legislators made up of men who are not doctors, making laws that will legislate for doctors and their patients. And they're not, the legislatures aren't affected by this, but their patients are. And again, I just want to emphasize the way in which the anti-choice movement has ginned up all of this. Like James Bopp, who is the spokesperson, the head of the National Right to Life Committee, argues that the physicians are the problem. The laws are clear, and if they're not clear enough for the physicians, the onus is on the physicians to suggest fixes. That's literally what he says. They should suggest the fixes. Doctors aren't legislators. Whose job is it? It's the legislature's job.
Melissa and Jessica, I want you to address this. There is no fix for a process where some women die. How do you fix pregnancy to make it so that there is no chance that a woman dies. If you force someone to carry and I understand there's at a certain point in the development of the fetus and the embryo, or the embryo to the fetus, and then that the rights of both tend to converge, right? I get that. But starting on that journey, you cannot guarantee a woman that you'll be okay. You just can't.
No, especially in the US, right? Where maternal mortality is
Right.
so awful.
But anywhere.
Right. And I have to say, just getting back to the scenario we were talking about before,
Yeah.
even if someone is able to get that health indicated life-saving abortion, in a lot of these states, because the way they've written the law in such a way that instead of giving standard abortion procedures, they're giving women C-sections or forcing them into vaginal labor even before viability, even when they know that there's no chance for the fetus's survival. And this is one of the ways that doctors are trying to protect themselves from liability, but it's also written in the laws. If a life-saving care is needed and they need to end the pregnancy, you need to give a maternal fetal separation, which means C-section or forced vaginal labor. And it's, just getting back to the actual real life suffering that is happening. That's, for some women, that's the best case scenario, that the life-saving care that they get is unnecessary, major abdominal surgery.